Welcome back. In the first episode, we spoke about something uncomfortable. But in this episode, I don't want to keep talking about the problems. I would really want to focus on the solutions and the way forward. Because thinking about the problems is, I reckon, a bit easier. We keep talking about the problems, but thinking about a solution and what could be done is better and much harder. So let's dive straight into it. I strongly feel and believe that people from different parts of the world who have migrated to Australia and have chosen to call Australia their home are now proud Australian citizens should assimilate. There's no other way around it. You should, not just try, but be better at assimilation in the Australian culture and its values. Now, when I say this, I don't really mean that you've got to forget where you are originally from, what your roots are, what your culture is all about. Not at all. To be a true blue Aussie, all you've got to do is, take both sides of the cultures and values and manage it respectfully. So that's the whole point about, being better at assimilation in the Australian community. I can celebrate Diwali, but also be present at the Anzac Day dawn service. I can, watch cricket, but be the loudest supporter when watching an AFL game at the stadium. I can, enjoy my curries, but also never say no to a Bunnings sausage. So all of this can go hand in hand. So assimilation in the Australian society or the Australian community doesn't mean that you forget, where your roots are, but adding a new chapter to this story of yours. And it's important that we work together on this and all march forward in the direction where it's a peaceful community at the end of the day. Assimilation doesn't mean replacing one identity with another. It simply means that you're adding more values to what you already have and then making sure that those align with the country's values where you are. So in this case, Australia. Right? I don't become less Indian if I love Australia, or I don't become less Australian if I'm proud to be Indian. Both these identities can work together, and this is how a new identity is formed, but which works in the favor of this country that we are in and we have chosen to call our home. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. What can Indians do? First and foremost, the most important thing I reckon is respect. Respect the country you chose to call home. Respect the law. Respect the culture. Respect the people. And most important, try and speak good English, as good as you can. Now, I'm not talking about the accent to align with the Australian accent. All I'm saying is your English is important because communication builds trust, right? Every time you're not able to communicate properly with the person in front of you, you're losing trust. And that's where it all begins to go downhill. Then there are other minor things, such as we've got to mingle with the community. We've got to make sure, we're just stepping out of the comfort zone. It's easy to be a part of the same community, people you've known longer, they live a lifestyle just like yours or similar to how it was back home. But it's important to step out of that comfort zone and attend events or, mingle with people from other cultures, Australian in particular, to understand what happens in these spaces. And you being there builds rather more confidence in the Australian people about us being open to their cultures and their ways of living. So that is extremely important. Now every opportunity that you've missed, if for so long, if you've been in Australia and you still don't know who your neighbors are, there is a missed opportunity. I reckon just, go and speak with your neighbors, invite them over for a cup of tea or, just have a chat about, Christmas or upcoming, for example, if there's Easter upcoming or Anzac Day service, whatever it is, just go and have a chat about just, being a neighbor. Right? That also counts as an important thing. Then there are very minor things that I've seen Australian pick on. Not just Australians, trust me, people from other cultures too have, other countries have picked on India for these things, is not following traffic rules, rash driving, not queuing properly, not, littering, pretty much littering in public spaces. So I reckon respecting all these things is equally important. So just make sure that you are queuing properly, not littering anywhere. Your voice is very soft in public spaces. And again, going back in circles, but speak English when you're out in the public. I understand your mother tongue is different and you're more comfortable, saying things in your own mother tongue, but often that backfires because people around you feel a bit left out. And because we are in Australia, I reckon it's important we speak in English, we communicate so that people around us understand what sort of communication is happening, and the message doesn't go across as if we are bitching about people around us. So even if, no matter how nice we are, or even if it doesn't relate to anybody around us, it's important that we make sure that everybody feels belong to in that particular conversation. Right? So minor things does build trust, and over time we can definitely see the difference. Now, I just don't want to pester Indians too much with what I've advised them, because this is not just about the Indians. I'd like to say something to the Australians too. Remember, India is a country with population of more than 1 billion people, 1.4 billion people approximately. That's a lot, right? When you see an Indian, I don't want you to automatically go into that, your brain to go into that mode where, Indian, and all the negative, things said about an Indian, whether it be on social media, in the news, or wherever that you've heard from, applies to that Indian that you have just bumped into. We are all different. Every person is different. They're from different cultures, they're from different religions, they're from different regions in India, and no one is the same. Just like Australians from different states are different. An Australian from Victoria might be different from an Australian in Queensland, might be different from an Australian from Western Australia. So it's a completely diverse nation where we come from, and all Indians do not fit the same criteria that most people have been exposed to. So just make sure that before you make a decision and make an assumption about the person that you're bumping into, you think about, just go to them, have a chat about where they are from, what do they do for a living, what do they think about Australia, and coming here and calling it their home. You'll realize that, you've just bumped into an Indian, not just an Indian, but an Indian Australian. And that's the whole purpose of this video, is I really want these two communities, and why am I even separating them? But it's the time that we are living in these days, that there's so much of, noise, the white noise as we call it out there, is that it's becoming a bit of a concern for me, that why can't we just trust each other? The Australia I know from 10 years ago is no longer the Australia I know. And it does hurt me deep down, because I'm like, I've spent 10 years just working to assimilate in the Australian culture. And if somebody is getting targeted for their wrongdoings, I am automatically getting into that bucket without people even acknowledging where I'm from, how much efforts I've put into this country to become a citizen. So yeah, I just, I would really appreciate if, Australian people start looking at Indians differently, and understand that there is hope going forward, and that we are good people too. One last thing before we end today's video, I just want to mention one thing, is what gives me big hope is my son Vian. He was recently born on Christmas Eve. Actually, can you believe it? Christmas Eve is his birthday, and he's almost 7 months now, but when this video is taking place. But as he grows up, I want him to learn what Australia is all about, without forgetting where his roots are, right? I'm pretty sure he will be speaking in a polished Aussie accent, better English than me, and will be a true blue Aussie. He would be enjoying his butter chicken, but also Vegemite toast in the morning, or be a Wheat Bix kid, right? He would be, he would love to watch cricket, but also, be there for the AFL games, and just the thought about raising my son in this amazing country, where mateship is prioritized, gives me huge hope. So I'm really excited. Remember, Australia is not for just one race. Does not belong to one race, one religion, one culture. It is multicultural, as we all know. But all I said this in the last video, I'm saying it again, is people coming from other cultures and other backgrounds should come in and be the side dish or the dessert, is the right word to use here. But let Australian be the main course, and you just have to add a flavor to the main course, add a new chapter to this, to your life, and develop these relationships one neighbor at a time, one friendship at a time, one conversation at a time. And what better than a coffee to have that conversation? So I will be leaving you with that. I hope this video has sparked some thinking, in terms of how you look at immigrants, if Australians are watching, but also any, immigrants that are watching this video have realized the importance of assimilation in the Australian community in particular. If you have any stories to share, please make sure you share your stories by commenting below. I would make sure that I read every comment and reply to your comments, but let's keep it respectful, because this is an ongoing discussion to make sure that not just Indians and Australians, but people from every country, every background, every community, feels like they belong in this amazing country we have now chosen to call home. So with that, I'll leave it there. Until then, you take care, have fun, look after each other, and remember, the coffee is always on. Cheers.